Harlem Renaissance writer, and he was also heavily engaged in civil rights. I Too by Langston Hughes. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. When I think about Hamilton and the phenomenon that it became, that is something that I feel really evokes the feeling of Hamilton. There is such a representation and metaphors of American history, but also you see these really innovative things as far as the cast and the way the stories are told. And you get to see the intersections between what it meant oftentimes to be a white American, but also marginalized identities who are aspiring towards these same American ideals that they are often excluded from. Even the use of something such as hip hop in Hamilton was born out of rebellion against many social issues in the United States. So, between the casting, the song choices, between the words that are spoken and the focus of Hamilton itself, you really do get this sense of an American story that people across multiple racial and ethnic lines can identify with. That really is the beauty of Hamilton. For this session, I wanted to pull out on a few themes. The first being, you open it up. Hold on, one moment. Over here. Turning a revolution into a revelation. Turning a revolution into a revelation. There is a song within this that really, really stood out to me concerning the sky. No, let me start there. I want to start with Thomas Jefferson. Let's start with Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, who's one of the founding fathers, comes in. If you remember that scene where he enters and he's going down the stairs, Thomas Jefferson comes home. If you don't mind, Jim, playing briefly that clip.
Not at all. Let's see how it goes. All right.
Rabbi Jim, I'm on.
Great, Sandy. Nice to see you.
Good.
Good. Glad you're here. Okay. And we're going to see how this goes. All right. Okay.
No sound. There's no sound.
No, but at least there's words.
Can you hear it or just see it?
We're just seeing it.
Okay.
Yeah,
But we
yeah. I was
can't
just
hear
sitting
anything.
in the chat. Can you send an increase in the sound?
Yeah, let me see what I can do.
Okay.
Okay. Ugh.
It might
Sorry,
not
everybody.
allow us to, which is okay. I can just briefly describe what is happening now. The three Schuyler sisters, one who will eventually become Alexander Hamilton's wife. In this particular scene, they're being introduced and they are singing at the time, right, about looking for a brilliant mind. They like sneaking out because they're high society women, and New York at the time is extremely exciting because there's all this talk about a revolution that is about to happen. You see there the introduction of Aaron Burr to the Schuyler sisters. And you see Angelica. Angelica is a really interesting character because one of the key lines in this is that she tells Burr, "You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So listen to our declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all people are created equal. And when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I'm going to convince him to write women in the sequel." And I thought that as far as lines go, this was extremely poignant. What is the difference between revolution and moving towards a revelation in society? How do we progress from the ideas of 1776? And if you look at just the definition of revelation, previously unknown facts, right? So for her, the revolution, the experience that they were having was revolution as far as an exclusionary aspect of just dealing with the freedom of men. And then she goes on to emphasize, if you will, a revelation as far as true liberty, including all people. What is it that we can do socially? And I open up this up to the floor to push towards those goals that the founding fathers, if you will, laid out. In what ways have you seen progress in those areas?
Very slowly. Do you hear me?
Very slowly.
Very
Yes, ma'am.
slowly, because let's take women.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the people who were brought as slaves against their
Mm-hmm.
will, you have half the population women who only got the vote 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And to even add to the context of what you're saying, because that is a great example, even when we use women, right? You do have to consider during 1919, 1920, when women finally gained their right to vote 100 years ago, even 100 years ago, they didn't even include all women, right?
Right.
So still Chicano women, Native American women, African American women still had to put up a little extra struggle because of issues such as polling taxes. So you brought up a very good issue as far as the timeline that it has taken to get to some of these ideals. Would anyone else like to contribute to that? I saw something else.
Oh,
Go ahead, Naomi. Go ahead, Naomi.
I think when you look at things historically, we've gone through periods of great leaps forward, if you pardon the phrase, and then some combination of consolidating and taking steps backward. And I think that that has been going on for a considerable amount of time.
Mhm.
We're in a phase now of steps forward. And my question becomes, how do we go from having a Black Lives Matter sign in your window or on your lawn to actually having Black neighbors or brown neighbors? There's a gap here, again, between the way people are thinking and the way they are able to act. Because when you look at the prices in Brookline, you're not, who can afford these? So then the question becomes, why can't people afford these? Or why have prices been pushed to such ridiculous levels? So every time you open a box, there's another box inside it. And I'm not too sure how you disentangle this. There's a certain amount of effort that can be made from the federal and state levels. But how many boxes are there?
I think that is a great point. I would also like to say that, wow, for me, that would be the separation between revolution and revelation. A lot of founding fathers had these really grand ideas. They were philosophers, they were thinkers, and it's great to be, you know, the intellectual and the academic and all of that. But for the everyday person, right? How do we make the ideas come into reality is a very, very valid question. Saying Black Lives Matter and having that on a Starbucks logo it's cute, right? But what ways can we apply these things? Now, from a sociological standpoint, I do think that along with the things that we have to do culturally within our neighborhoods, we have to analyze some of the institutions, right, that upholds these barriers and the policies as well. So revolution to revelation. Anyone else would like to contribute to that?
Well, let me throw one more in here. For whatever reason, the Democrats took the presidency, but they failed until this last minute cliffhanger in Georgia to move in the Senate or in state houses or in the House of Representatives. And at this point, states that Biden took narrowly are starting to figure out how they can disenfranchise more voters. Our problems is we're in Massachusetts, but how do you get from here to influence what's going on? You know, the two guys who defended Georgia are now working to disenfranchise people. So where, I'm sorry, I'll shut up.
No. That's a very valid question. I will say, from my understanding, my goodness, I do think that at least when I speak of Texas, people like Beto, who ran for senator against Ted Cruz, he's looking at the model that Stacey Abrams used. And I do think that she's hoping to expand that. I had this conversation with Rabbi Jim. You know, a lot of times the South is portrayed as backwards, when really it's just oppressed in terms of and suppressed in terms of voting. So we do have to fight against these sort of laws that disenfranchise people. Throughout the years, things like the Voting Rights Act has been chipped away at, right? So it's no wonder that certain policies are still in place. Yes. I will say that time from revolution to revelation, to going back to what someone else said, it's been slow. And sometimes, I think Martin King pointed this out too, to bring in the civil rights aspect when he was in the prison of the jail of Alabama in Birmingham. Someone, white pastors, had written to him and said, "Why are you doing these things? You know, these things take time. These things takes time." Does a revolution take time? Does a revelation take time? Or does it just take the courage to do these things? How much time should these things really, really take?
Yeah.
I would say that certain of our Congress people are more interested in keeping their seats and who comes out on.
Yeah. But the other issue is that very often, and we keep seeing this, the people who can lead a revolution are not the people who should be organizing the subsequent government, because there are different sets of skills involved here. And so the question is, how do you manage to get both under the same roof? The people who can produce a revolution, and then the people who can consolidate the gains that have been made under it, because too frequently they're not the same people. In the case of the American Revolution, to some extent they were. In the case of a lot of other revolutions, they haven't been.
Now, I'm going to try. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Better get back to Hamilton.
Yes. I'm going to drive back to Hamilton. I'm going to try to play this for you guys, and let me know if you can hear it or not.
Invisalign treatment uses smart track technology, so I could create custom treatment plans for every smile.
Oh, God.
Distance.
I know,
It's
right?
made it clear that the best memories don't happen miles apart.
Can you see it?
They happen
Yes,
There's nothing rich folks
Oh,
love
excellent.
more
That's
than
great.
going downtown and slumming it with the poor. They pull up in their carriages and gawk at the students in the common just to watch them talk. Take Philip Schuyler, the man is loaded. Uh-oh, but little does he know that his daughter's Peggy Angelica Eliza sneak into the city just to watch other guys. And work.
Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy.
How's the sound, everyone?
Eliza, Daddy
Fine.
said to be home by sundown. Daddy doesn't need
Okay, thank you.
to know. Daddy said not to go downtown. Like I said, you're free to go. But look around, the revolution's happening in New York. New York. It's bad enough that he wants to go to war. Shopping is square. It's bad enough there'll be violence on our shore. New ideas in the air. Look around, Angelica, remind me what we're looking for.
She's looking for me.
Eliza, I'm looking for a mind at work. I'm looking for a mind at work. I'm looking for a mind at work. Whoa, 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 whoa.
There's nothing like summer in the city. Someone in a rush next to someone looking pretty. Excuse me, miss, I know it's not funny, but your perfume smells like your daddy's got money. While you're slumming in the city in your fancy heels, you searching for an urchin who can give you ideals.
Where you disgust me.
Ah, so you disgust me. I'm a trust fund, baby, you can trust me.
I've been reading Common Sense by Thomas Paine. So men say that I'm intense or I'm insane. You want a revolution, I want a revelation. So listen to my declaration. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. And when I meet Thomas Jefferson, I will compel him to include women in the sequel. Right! Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. Look around, how lucky we are to be alive right now. History is happening, that happened, and we just happen to be in the greatest city in the world. In the greatest city in the world. Look at how it's just my own. So let's leave it on that.
Absolutely brilliant. I will like to say there was a question about how do we get some of the revolution folks in the same room as some of the lawmakers, because they're not always the same people. And I think this is something that is sort of explored by Hamilton, because we see that women are very supportive of the revolution that is happening, even though they are not necessarily direct benefactors of it. Nevertheless, when the new government is set up, they're excluded in that process, right? So there is a lesson I think that Hamilton teaches about excluding groups who are contributing to the movement. Now, during its time, to explore the more historical aspects of Hamilton, you do have a debate going on amongst the colonials concerning whether revolution should actually happen. Great point, Naomi. Abigail Adams could neither. So there's this debate amongst it, about whether revolution should be happening. So not everyone is on the same page as far as what freedom means, as far as what having a democracy means. And I will say, in the time of the civil rights movement, when you're talking about this area, this period from the 1950s to the 1960s, we look at it, with these rose-colored lenses. Currently, it's really great to have a Martin Luther King Day. Currently, it's really great to reflect on this period, but at the time, right? Martin Luther King was on the FBI's watch list. He was hounded. A lot of civil rights activists were, from Rosa Parks to Viola Liuzzo, and even the violence that they endured, right, was seen and turned around to make it look like their fault. They were the victims of hate crimes. How is it that in today's society, we criticize contemporary, or how do we frame contemporary social movements? How do we speak on them?
I don't understand what.
I see Georgia's hand. Go ahead, Georgia.
Yes, am I unmuted?
No, you're good.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. You have to have revelations have to come before revolutions. You can't just come out and say, hey, let's have a revolution. You have to have adequate, important, that cover enough people and that put people in your corner before you have a revolution. Martin Luther King came out of jail to speak at the March on Washington, and people don't remember those things. They think he was a great hero, but he didn't come from nowhere.
I agree with that. They forget about the uphill climb that he went through to give that, now sort of Americanized, iconic speech, right? So oftentimes we frame a lot of movements as popular, but not
or
the
easy.
Struggle. Yeah,
or
easy. That's a very good word.
Yeah. There were many Martin Luther Kings, and we only know about one of them.
I agree with that assessment. Again, bringing it back to Hamilton, I will say one of the things I like about Hamilton is that some characters that we don't get to see as often, Hercules being one of them, Lafayette, others that we don't really explore as far as the context of this founding of this country, are given a bit more shine. And in the same way, we kind of make the same mistake with the civil rights movement, where we talk about Martin Luther King and we remember things like Rosa Parks sitting on a bus, but she was also a woman who advocated against sexual rights. She was a huge advocate for sexual abuse victims. She fought very important rape cases, in the United States. She was a very powerful woman. But we like to tell the clean version of a lot of movements, right?
Yeah, they decide exactly. who would
sanitize
be
it.
the most, who would look the best. And
Yes, yes.
they made the
yeah.
right decisions, but it didn't happen overnight. She didn't suddenly decide she was going to sit down. It was rehearsed and it happened as it should, but there were many attempts where the people did not make it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this, and I think someone else mentioned that there was this period sometimes in social movements where we feel like we just stall or we just fall back. And that's something that we have to think about when it comes to progress and going towards this American ideal, is that we like to think of it as this straight linear line when oftentimes it zigzags.
That's right.
It
Always.
zigzags. Yeah.
And I just wanted to mention quickly that there was an interesting article in the Times this morning about the 1776 commission that that the former president put together. And I actually read that. That report, the 1776 report, which was supposedly about American history, but there were no historians on the panel that wrote it. And one of the points that I had when I read it, it was clearly whitewashed, shall we say?
It was white history.
I'm sorry.
It was white history.
Well, what's interesting was the degree to which
White preferred history. I'll take it further.
they explicitly picked out from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, right? Those things that are now generally seen to be acceptable and correct, and they neglected in their screed against socialism to point out that Dr. King called for a massive reapportionment of the resources in this country along the lines of socialism. And so they want to remember one part of his legacy, but not another part of it.
And he was vilified at the time.
Right, you are absolutely correct.
He was jailed.
But he was vilified by a lot of people.
Yeah.
People that were so-called liberals. He was very unpopular, Martin Luther King.
Yeah, and especially when he spoke out, interestingly enough, to bring it back to the civil rights movement, connect to Hamilton, when he spoke out against war.
Yes, he was very pro-Vietnam, yes, before everyone else was.
They were very angry with him.
I think Connie wanted to say something. Connie, if you would like to say something, please unmute yourself. There you go.
I was just going to say what this woman just said. One of his biggest pluses was the fact that he was early on anti-Vietnam War.
Yes.
One of the
He was a
first.
pacifist.
And he was vilified.
Yes, go ahead, Naomi.
Pacifist. He came to Brandeis in 1956 and was a pacifist, and we thought he was nuts. They were shooting at the young people who were marching, and he was a pacifist. We couldn't understand that. And this is a select group of young people.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Naomi.
let's try bringing this forward. I suspect that one of the major revelations of the last few years has been the totally unequal application of police practices between white people and Black and brown people. So most of the efforts to remedy this, it seems to me, have come about exclusively on the local level. There are some national organizations that are trying to work at it, but if we want to make progress, what is the way of harnessing the kind of energy behind this to actually try to implement reforms on some broader basis than city by city. And I'm not talking about defund the police, which I think is an unfortunate turn of phrase, because there are certain points where you do need a policeman and possibly a policeman with a gun. There are a hell of a lot of other points where you don't necessarily need that. So, you know, how do we get some form of nationwide progress? Where's the Martin Luther King who's speaking out on this?
Now, I'm going to take it back to a couple of things. One, concerning Hamilton, right? Hamilton was an unlikely leader, okay? And even though he was centered around New York and what we see as this amazing time in American history, very unique. One of the themes within Hamilton is that history is happening now, currently being created now. When people say, you know, where are, you know, the Martin Luther Kings, I think they are definitely out there. I think the people that are speaking out and doing the work, that's what these grassroots organizations are about. I don't think that the things, oh my goodness, go George Washington in Hamilton. He refuses to run for another term because he says he wants the nation to know how to move past him. In the same sense, Martin Luther King did not sacrifice so there could just be another Martin Luther King. There needed to be people who would take up the mantle in their own way, right? John Lewis in the same fashion. There's work to be done, but I think sometimes we turn and we look back and say, wow, we really need that particular thing again, right? I definitely think there are people who are suited for this purpose now, right? I think if you're talking about voter suppression, one of the people who has risen to that occasion to fight back against that is Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
I do think there are people who have risen to the occasion to fight back against police brutality, against housing issues. If you look at indigenous issues, which definitely have a lot of race and ethnic inequality rooted in it, right? Along with classism. There are people who have worked tirelessly about it, but oftentimes we're looking for one particular person, and the work isn't for one particular person. One thing we believe in sociology is nothing happens in a bubble. It doesn't take the individual, it takes a group. Martin Luther King achieved nothing on his own. He achieved it within a group, right? And so that is my response to that.
Great, thank you. Crystal, I wanted to add one quick remark about the Schuyler sisters, and then maybe we can move on to the next song.
Yes.
Awesome. So one thing that caught me a little off guard this time was the line that the revolution is taking place in New York, the greatest city in the world, right?
Yeah.
What? The greatest? No. In 1776, not even close, right? So
Philadelphia.
Well, you're right. First of all, New York City wasn't even the greatest city in the colonies, right? It was the second largest port, right? So what is that about in Hamilton? So, you know, is it just Lin-Manuel Miranda being a goofball and not, you know, just being completely anachronistic and not paying attention to history? But I actually think that it gets a little bit to what Crystal was saying, right? Is that Hamilton is happening, right? It's set in 1776, right? But it's actually happening, right? In whenever it came out. I don't remember what year it was, right? When New York, you know, has at least a claim. I'm not sure that it is, right? But it has a claim to being the greatest city in the world, right? And so I think it sort of neatly encapsulates the way in which Hamilton is sort of depicting past events, but making it very clear that it's speaking to right now, right? And that's one of the reasons for this cast that is all of people of different skin tones, right? That we might not expect the people who who bore those characters' names in history probably were mostly white people. So just like this is its own kind of a revolution happening now. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
No, that's great. I thought about it, and when I saw it, let me add before I play this next clip. One of the things that I think of is the word ethnocentrism.
Yeah,
sociology, of course, that means seeing things according to your own culture and own perspective, right? And so we have this great and wonderful ability to take everything and judge it by our own standard. It was the greatest revolution of all time in the greatest city of all time with the greatest people of all time, right? So we
right? Yeah.
Sounds like Trump. Sounds like Trump.
Unfortunately, she's right.
Okay.
All right, here's the second song.
The second song. Let me see. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. Okay, found it. Now share my screen with you people. Let's see. Technology, what a blast.
1789. How does the bastard, orphan, immigrant, decorated war vet unite the colonies through more debt? Fight the other founding fathers till he has to forfeit. Have it all, lose it all. You ready for more yet? Treasury Secretary, Washington's the president. Every American experiment sets a precedent. Not too fast. Someone came along and off until we had a two-party system. You haven't met him yet, you haven't had the chance, cause he's been kicking ass as the ambassador to France. But someone's gotta keep the American promise. You simply must meet Thomas. Revolution, there is no more status quo, but the sun comes up and the world still spins. I helped Lafayette draft a declaration, then I said I gotta go, gotta be in Monticello, now the work at home begins. So what did I miss? What did I miss? Virginia, my home sweet home, I wanna give you a kiss. I've been in Paris meeting lots of different ladies. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this. There's a letter on my desk from the president. Haven't even put my bag down yet, Sally. Be a lamb, darling, won't you open it? It says the president's assembling a cabinet and that I am to be the Secretary of State. Great, and that I'm already Senate approved. I just got home and now I'm headed up to New York. Looking at the rolling fields, I can't believe that we are free. Ready to face whatever's awaiting me in NYC. Who's waiting for me when I step in the place? My friend James Madison, red in the face. He grabs my arm and I respond.
Thomas, we're engaged in a battle for our nation's very soul. Can you get us out of the mess we're in? Hamilton's new financial plan is nothing less than government control. I've been fighting for the South alone. Where have you been? France, West. We have to win.
What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Head first into a political abyss. Head first into the abyss. I had my first cabinet meeting today. I guess I better think of something to say. I'm already gone my way to get to the bottom of this. What did I miss? Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Mr. Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton. Mr. Jefferson, welcome home. Mr.
Okay, so that particular clip with Thomas Jefferson, let me give you some background. One, David Dees, who plays Thomas Jefferson, does a phenomenal job. He's extremely charismatic. This Thomas Jefferson, I love. He's wonderful. You see this brilliant, very bright, shining star. One in the United States when it comes to the founding fathers, people recognize without a hitch. Now, here comes, I guess, the art, the complexity of it. In portraying, of course, Thomas Jefferson and a large amount of the founding fathers as Black Americans, there's this glaring thing in this issue. They really don't deal with slavery at all. And the reason why Miranda, he explains, because he didn't want to bring, down the play as far as, the hopefulness of it. But historically, this is a very real issue, right? The founding fathers were slave owners. Thomas Jefferson, if you're familiar with Sally Hemings, was his wife's enslaved half-sister. That's who Sally Hemings was. A child who Thomas Jefferson raped until she had children. It's very nice to have a very bright, shining Thomas Jefferson. And again, accomplished great things politically. But we don't wrestle enough, right, with the legacy, the full legacy of Thomas Jefferson. Now, the reason why I bring that up, and I wanted to show this video to you, is because Miranda chose a very comforting and hopeful American story. In which ways do we sometimes choose comfort instead of confronting the issues in contemporary society? How do we avoid accountability on issues?
Yeah.
Yes, I hear someone. I'm not sure who I'm hearing.
I'm sorry, I'm talking and no one can hear me because I'm muted. I've got so much background noise here that I've been muting myself. I see Georgia's hand, and I think Naomi wanted to say something. So let's start with Georgia and then go to Naomi.
I thought Suzanne had a hand up too.
Frequently, we just ignore it.
We just ignore it. We pretend like it doesn't exist, right? Slavery didn't exist in Hamilton, right? Voting issues for women didn't exist, right? The classism didn't exist. It was barely scraped. Okay, so ignore it. What's someone else?
Naomi?
Well, Connie, several other people have had their hands up, and I've been.
Okay, great. Thank you, Connie. Go ahead, Connie.
So we're dealing right now with accountability in Washington. Who was accountable for the riot in January? Was Trump accountable or not? That's currently what is one of the big issues right now.
So even now, we're still struggling about holding people accountable, especially at the highest level. So it's very good that this was the origins of government story, because you see even now, right? What should the government do? And for me, being a Texan, I think a huge contrast is, wow, even back then, the South was still trying to rise. And you see that same sort of thing today in 2021. Wow. Okay, great contribution. Yes, someone else, I believe, wanted to input.
Well, if nobody else wants to talk, I will.
Go ahead, Naomi, and then I think Sandy wants to say something too. So, but Sandy, you have to unmute yourself. So go ahead, Naomi, while Sandy's unmuting.
Okay. One of the problems that I see is that at this point, the way we are doing accountability is to just erase names. I think the controversy over Faneuil Hall illustrates that, because there was apparently another possibility that was totally dismissed, which in my mind would have been more appropriate. But, all right, so you change the name of Faneuil Hall, and in 10 years, nobody is going to remember anything about Peter Faneuil, when in fact, there are things about him that we should remember. he was a benefactor, he was also a slaveholder. And how do we recognize the good things and also recognize the duality? Because you erase the name and inside of 10 years, nobody remembers anything. It's now John Smith Hall. So what have we done?
Go ahead, Sandy, and then Connie again.
Well, basically, look at what's happened here. Martin Luther King was a pacifist at a time when that was not popular. He came to Brandeis and spoke to us in 1955, and they were shooting, and he said he's for pacifism. We thought he was nuts.
It's very interesting, right? That,
yes, we did.
Yeah, that.
Well, let me say, just to go with what the scholarships are saying, there's a line in there where she's rapping, and she goes, "Some men think I'm intense or I'm insane." So oftentimes, people who are involved in activist works do get a label put on them because when inequality is the norm, right? Then doing something that is for justice or for equality does seem like it is extreme. And that historically is the pattern that we have followed for some time.
Especially if they're women, then they really get.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. So go ahead, Connie.
But right here at home, the devotion school was renamed last year because devotion had owned slaves. But the whole process of renaming the school became a whole educational process where the students studied the history, and then they studied the history. They had many choices about whom to rename the school after. And they chose an African-American woman who was very prominent years ago in Brookline. So that became a very, very positive experience in just wiping out the name.
Right.
Now, Connie, let me say that I think that is a great way for young people to analyze because then they get to learn about the history. And a part of it is, I'll say as a sociologist, symbols, values, culture carries a lot of weight. We teach each other who we should uplift and uphold, right? And so for young people to say, okay, we want to identify with this as a society and not this, based on an educated stance, I think says a great deal. Very positive message.
All right, well, so we're almost at time. So I want to make sure that if you, anyone on the call who hasn't had a chance to speak would like to, I want to make sure that you have that opportunity. So I'll just give everyone just a moment to figure out how to unmute themselves if they want to say something. Okay. I'll go ahead, Naomi. Yeah.
In Judaism, actually, the worst thing anyone can do to you is to allow your name to die out.
Right.
May his name be forgotten.
Yeah, it's very much not a Jewish value to just get rid of someone's memory, right? It's much more. There's a reason why we include in our writings, we include the unpopular and the positions that were not ultimately upheld, right? They're still inscribed in our holy books, so that we can keep debating them, right? So we can keep having those conversations and constantly reaffirm for ourselves that no, we don't want to go down that road. We want to go down this road, or acknowledging that there is actually there is a truth inherent in that other position that was not the most, and that we have to sort of figure out, well, how do we deal with the fact that there are often two truths, like the ones that Naomi was talking about, right? That we have this person, Thomas Jefferson, who did the most inhuman, most abhorrent things, and also wrote one of the most important founding documents of this country that continues to inspire people. How do we sit with those two things that are just so, anyway.
You have to remember. You have to remember.
We have to remember both. We have to remember both, right? We have to remember both. But anyway, so we need to switch now from heady historical musicals to less heady, more fun sing-along time. So I invite you all, if you are interested in sticking around and singing, then that'd be great. And if you need to go, obviously I understand that. But before anything else, I want to hear from Gail, and then I want to thank Crystal.
Well, I was just going to say, I would delight, Crystal, it was great to have you. And I hope we see you again sometime.
Yes.
I mean, even if Reverend George is feeling better next week for next week's version of this conversation, I think I'm gonna try at least to convince Crystal to join us again.
That would be wonderful.
That would be great. That would be great.
And I just think it's great for this group of folks up here in Massachusetts to have an informant, a sociologically informed informant down in Texas.
Right? I will definitely pass along any messages that I can.
Wonderful.
Last thing that I want to leave with you, I think a huge thing about Hamilton is that last scene, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, and our ability to move on. As you guys really transition well into talking about struggling with the legacy. There is a Native American, there's a point where during a Native American movie called Smoke Signals, called How Do We Forgive Our Fathers? How do we forgive our fathers? Maybe in a dream? Do we forgive our fathers for leaving us too often or forever when we were little? Maybe for scaring us with unexpected rage, for making us nervous, because there never seemed to be any rage there at all. Do we forgive our fathers for marrying or not marrying our mothers, for divorcing or not divorcing our mothers? And shall we forgive for their excesses of warmth or coldness? Shall we forgive them for pushing or leaning, for shutting doors, for peeking through walls and never speaking or never being silent? Do we forgive our fathers in our age or in theirs or in their deaths? If we forgive our fathers, what then is left? All right, so thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everybody. I'm going to stay on for the sing along, and obviously people are welcome to stay or go. But we generally have a lot of fun singing, and as I was telling Crystal, we sing in a whole bunch of different languages, so it's a lot of fun. All right, thanks again, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, everybody.
That was wonderful.
All right. So I think that Marina is going to join me, and I hope at least Marina is going to be able to join. We'll see. Okay. My poor guitar was in the car. Luckily, I brought it in long enough ago, so hopefully it's done. The strings are done unstretching and restretching. All right. So let's see here. Oh boy, let's see. We're gonna try to go here. Bum, 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 bum. All right, there we go. Okay. All right, so everyone can see my little thing. So we'll start here with, all right, with Am Yisrael Chai. Okay. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Am Yisrael Chai, 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 Ora Minu, Ora Minu, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu, Ora Minu, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu, Ora Minu, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu, Ora Minu, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu, Ora Minu, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu, Ora Minu, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu Chai, Ora Minu Chai, All right. Let's see here. I realize I better, that just means there's no, that the TV is muted. All right, let's see here. I just gotta, think I better mute folks. Okay, so that, all right, there we go. All right, so the next song, let's see what I've got on my little list here. Oops, there we go. The next one, oh, Bye Bye Love, okay. And you don't even need the lyric sheets anymore because most of them are up here. Not all of them, but most of them. Bye bye love, bye bye happiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye bye love, bye bye sweet goodness, hello emptiness, I feel like I ought to die. Bye bye my love, goodbye. There goes my baby with someone new. She sure looks happy, I sure am blue. She was my baby till he stepped in. Goodbye to romance that would have been. Bye bye love, bye bye emptiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye bye love, bye bye sweet caress, hello emptiness, I feel like I ought to die. Bye bye my love, goodbye. I'm through with romance, I'm through with love, I'm through with counting the stars above. And here's the reason that I'm so free. My loving lady is here with me. Bye bye love, bye bye happiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye bye love, bye bye sweet caress, hello emptiness, I feel like I ought to die. Bye bye my love, goodbye. 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 All right, let's see here. Oh, this is always a favorite. Down by the riverside, okay. And one of these days, Marina, we'll have to figure out how to sing it in Russian. Because I somehow feel like я собираюсь сложить свой меч и щит вниз по берегу реки is not going to scan necessarily with, and I don't even know if it is the right, completely right. I found that on the internet somewhere. Yeah. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. I'm gonna study. Whoa, no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. study. Whoa, no more. I ain't gonna 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 study. Whoa, no more. I'm gonna shake hands around the world, down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna shake hands around the world, down by the riverside. I'm gonna study. Whoa, no more. I ain't 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 gonna study. Whoa, no more. All right. That's a fun one. All right. So I think all right. So we'll sing this one. Everyone likes this one. So this one's in Russian. I think I only have the Russian here. So we'll do it in Russian. Let's see here. Oh. So this is Hallelujah in Russian, but if you know the Leonard Cohen version, you'll know that the words, this is not a direct translation, it's just it's a rewriting into a much more positive, much happier kind of a song. There's the one, the Leonard Cohen version is about a kind of a tortured love affair. It's not really a super happy song. Спасибо за лунный свет, за дивный мир других планет, за каждый миг, который проживу я. За радость пусть, за свет и день, за самый лучший жизни день, за каждый новый вдох мой, аллилуйя. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Спасибо, Бог, что ты со мной, за каждый новый день земной, за все, что в этом мире так люблю я. За шум весны, за дождь и снег, минут неуловимый миг, за свет в моем окошке, аллилуйя, 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 аллилуйя. Прости, что эти люди зли, что в мире упрекаемы, живут всем вопреки, с собой воюя. Позволь забыть, простить, любить и жить добром и просто быть во благо этой жизни. Аллилуйя. Аллилуйя, 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 аллилуйя. Hallelujah. All right. All right, so here's another one in Russian. It's about Katyusha, our good buddy Katyusha, who sings a song and it flies all the way over the lands to say hi to her boyfriend, who is defending the homeland from whoever. I don't know who's attacking, but whoever it is.
I think it was written.
Oh, this is the Germans?
I think so.
Ah, okay.
Not so German.
Yeah, probably. All right, so Katyusha, here it is. Расцветали яблони и груши, а плыли туманы над рекой. Выходила на берег Катюша, на высокий берег над крутой. Выходила на берег Катюша, на высокий берег над крутой. Выходила, песню запотела, расстегнула сизого орла. Про того, которого любила, про того, чьи письма берегла. Про того, которого любила, про того, чьи письма берегла. Ой, эти песенка девичья, ты лети за ясным солнцем свет, и бойцу на давнем пограничье от Катюши передать привет. И бойцу на давнем пограничье от Катюши передать привет. Пусть он вспомнит девочку простую, пусть услышит, как она поет. Пусть он землю бережет родную, а любовь Катюша сбережет. Пусть он землю бережет родную, а любовь Катюша сбережет. Расцветали яблони и груши, поплыли туманы над рекой. Уходила с берега Катюша, уносила песню за собой. Уходила с берега Катюша, уносила песню за собой. Okay, I really like that one. That's one of my big favorites. So let's see. Now someone joined us here. Let's see who it is. Let's see. Oh, Judy is back. And who's at 5482?
Bertha Sivak.
Oh,
Bertha Sivak.
Nice to have you, Bertha. So glad you're joining us.
I wish I had the voice to do it with, but I'm enjoying it.
That's great. Well, we have Marina. You can't see because you're on the phone, so you can't see that Marina Polyakova is sitting here with me singing, which is great. And we also have Judy Berkowitz from 1550 is here, and then Sandy Greenberg, Florence Warren, and Gail Flackett from 100 Center Street. So this is great. I'm just gonna. All right, good deal. There we go. I don't remember what song I have next here. Dinokaya Garmon, and that one, my friend Marina doesn't love. So let's do. So I'm willing to take a request as long as I kind of know the song. I'm willing to take a request, or I can just come up with one. Does anyone have a song they would particularly like to hear?
Libraries being built.
I guess so. All right, so I think I'm just going to pick one. Oh, I have an idea. Well, that's always fun. We can sing Hava Nagila. Or maybe we'll save that one for last. All right, so I'll sing one I'll sing one, which is a beautiful song. Oh, but it's not a great sing-along song. So let's see here. Let's do Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I love that one. Do you know that one? Yeah, okay.
Do you have lyrics?
I do. We'll have to share them.
Okay. I'll get close.
Actually, I can put them on the screen.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
There we go. All right, everybody, there we go. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, one of my absolute favorites. And I was, Reverend George was supposed to join us for our conversation about Hamilton today. He wasn't able to, but when Reverend George and I first met each other, we had the chance that very first day to sing a song together, and this is the one we sang. It was super fun. So let's see, we seem to have lost people again. Let's see here. Yeah, we lost people again. Okay, no big deal. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles out like lemon drops away above the chimney top. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Birds fly over the rainbow. Why, then oh why can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? All right, pretty nice. All right, so now we're going to sing Hava Nagila. I don't know if I have Hava Nagila on, but I think it's easy enough to find. The words to Hava Nagila.
Thank you, Rabbi Jim. I have to leave.
All right, thanks, Judy, for being here.
Okay, nice to see you all.
Be well.
Thank you too.
I'll be just humming along the.
Yeah, that's good. There we go. All right. There we go. All right, so we'll close with this. Nagila, 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 Benismeha, Nagila, 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 Benismeha, Amane, Minna. לשמחה. אחים ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח. נגילה, נגילה, נגילה ונשמחה. נגילה, נגילה, נגילה ונשמחה. הבה נרננה, הבה נרננה, הבה נרננה ונשמחה. הבה נרננה, הבה נרננה, הבה נרננה ונשמחה. אחים ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח, ורוחים בלב שמח. All right. Which is great. All right. Thank you, Florence. Thank you, Bertha, for being here. And we'll be back next week with some more fun singing. And hopefully I'll have the time to put some new songs on my PowerPoint so I don't have to go searching for them in my Google Drive. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.